starting off, Josh and I had been friends for about a year or so, and we started to hang out more and more, and I think start to have an interest in each other. And after one weekend of hanging out in a group of friends, he came up to me and wanted to see if I wanted to come to church with him one Sunday. And I came with him to church. We had a good time, and he asked me out to go get coffee afterwards. So that was really our first date that we got to spend time one-on-one and get to know each other, and where I kind of knew that there's a little bit more interest there than just friends.
Well, I believe I did. As far as initiating the first date, her and I had been friends for a long time, and we had hung out a lot together. We were a part of a church group together. We'd spent about 6 months to a year getting to know one another as friends. And then over Thanksgiving in 2014, we got to texting back and forth to one another, and I think we both kind of had a little bit of a curiosity as far as could there be something between us? So at the end of the day, when I got back from Thanksgiving, we hung out one more time, and then after that, I asked her out, and we started seeing one another after that.
So Josh and I had been dating for about a month or so, and we were having a really great time together. I felt so comfortable around him, but he hadn't tried to kiss me yet. So on New Year's Eve, I think it was, I told the guy who actually introduced us to each other, I was like, I really like hanging out with him, but he has got to make a move or it's going to be in the friend zone soon. So it was actually the next day, New Year's Day, that we hung out at night together. And I could tell we were sitting on my couch, and he started to inch closer to me and put his arm around me and started to lean in, and he initiated the first kiss that time. So he took his friend's advice and made the move so he would not be stuck in the friend zone anymore. And it was really precious because I could tell he was shaking and he was nervous. But it was a good first kiss, I'll say. And we got to get out of the friend zone then.
Yeah, so the first kiss was kind of a funny moment for both of us because I've never had trouble with a first kiss until I met Stephanie, and one of the more complicated things about it was she was a friend, and I didn't know how to go about engaging that. We had been friends for nearly a year, and when we started dating, it was unfamiliar territory to me because we had had such a long friendship before we actually started dating. So I spent a good month in our relationship before I'd ever kissed her, and I think that was new territory, especially for her. So she had relayed a message to a friend that wasn't really supposed to get back to me, or maybe it was, I don't know, in hindsight, but basically the message was I better get it in gear quickly or else. It was New Year's Day, and I went over to her apartment, and we were supposed to hang out and watch a movie that night, and I ended up kissing her that night. I was pretty nervous because I like I said, I got the ultimatum that it better happen soon, so I figured it probably better be good as well. So yeah, I was very nervous, and even she made fun of me, and still does to this day, that she could hear my heart beating as as I was kissing her. So yeah, I was pretty nervous.
Josh is, first of all, he is such a man of the Lord. He is so strong in his faith, and that's one of the biggest things that I admire about him. Not only his knowledge, but his relationship with the Lord is one of the biggest things that I admire. He is so smart in so many ways. and he's just passionate about so many things. So if you know he's into something and he loves you or he loves someone else, you know it. You know by his passion. And if he is passionate about something else that he's not excited about, you're gonna know it too. But he's one of the strongest people I know. Even though he comes off as so tough sometimes too, he has such a tender heart towards people, towards me, towards his family, and those are some of the greatest things that I admire about him.
I don't know that there's one particular thing I admire most. Primarily, she's just incredibly good for me. She makes me strong in areas that I'm typically weak. That's all. People always ask me that. There's like a floodgate of answers that comes into play. I don't know one specific thing. It's just primarily, she is just one particular person that is able to engage me and she's able to engage me for who I am, and I don't feel like I'm pressured to be somebody else, and at the same time, she's able to make me better without making me feel like I have to change something in order to win her approval. So I think that's probably one of the things that really was highlighted at the beginning of our relationship, is she's just very accepting and very patient and very loving with me. So I don't know if there's like one thing I can pick out. There's just so much there that I've grown to love about her.
I had to think about whenever I first realized that Josh was the one, and I remember I was at the Scott's flea market with my girlfriends, and of course I saw a counter with jewelry on there, so I had to go look at the jewelry, and there's a really pretty ring that caught my eye, and I asked the guy if I could look at it. It wasn't even a thought that it would be an engagement ring, but when he pulled it out of the counter, I put it on my ring finger, on my left ring finger, and at that very moment, it's like something snapped in me, and I knew that he was the one I wanted to marry. We had been dating about 7 months, and we weren't quite sure then. We knew that we loved each other, but we weren't really sure if it was leading towards marriage or not. And it was so strange how right when I put that on my ring on my finger, not, of course it's shiny jewelry on your hand, but it's something crazy where I felt such a peace about it. And I knew that he was the man that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. So, of course, the next day I made him go look at the ring with me at the flea market and took it from there. So we decided we wanted to spend the rest of our lives with each other. Of course, he asked me way later on down the road.
I think, early on in our relationship, I was very committed to the idea of being serious with her. I think it was about 4 or 5 months into our relationship where we had kind of gone to a wedding and spent the weekend together, and we had kind of reached a place in our relationship where we were, at least I was thinking about, do I actually love her or not? And so we spent the weekend with some friends, and we were in Chattanooga, and I just really kind of felt going into the weekend that there was definitely something very special about Stephanie. So I think that weekend was just one that, after spending time with friends and seeing her interact with them and seeing how we interacted together, and just out of the context of just our day-to-day lifestyles and everything like that, it was just kind of a very eye-opening experience for me. And then I think our personalities are different to where she kind of thinks about things before she jumps into them. I'm more like the opposite, where I jump into things and then I think about them. So I think I was very committed to Stephanie, but when it actually came down to, are you going to propose to her, I remember having a lot of anxiety around those thoughts, and just remembering, an evening I was sitting on my back porch, and I just decided to like talk to the Lord about it and pray about it, and I just felt like an overwhelming sense of calm there as I thought through Stephanie, and the fact that like God's never given me a better person in my life, somebody that actually makes me better, and somebody that actually makes me feel like, you know, I'm a stronger person for being with her. And I think it was at that moment I knew like I'm proposing to this girl, and you know I'm walking down the right path.